Hi guys, it's Mrs. Millison. Okay, I'm going to do a quick video on the difference between a has-a relationship and an is-a relationship. Okay, quick overview. We have our person class from our last video, which is just a straight class. It extends objects, which we don't even have to worry about. It's got two instance variables. So here's an is-a relation, not an is-a has-a relationship. A person has a first name. A person has a last name. A person only has one first name and one last name. So this is a one-to-one has a relationship. Okay. And that's what we're used to seeing. If you come over to the student class file, now the student is an extension of person because a student is a person. Okay. So when you have an is a relationship, you are inheriting. Okay. Now, a student also has a ID, okay? So every student only has one ID. So here's a has a relationship, but again, one to one, okay? Um, so we have our constructor here. Let's go back to the person file. We have our constructor to create our person with our first and last name. We have a toString method to print the first and last name. Then when we created the student class file and we inherited those instance variables in that method from person, we were able to inherit the first and last name, and then we tacked on a student ID because students have IDs, persons do not. Persons do not. Okay, and then we did our toString method for our student. We grabbed the name from the person super class file or parent class file, and then we tacked on the ID from the student file. Okay, and we created a person over here, which won't even touch the student file. And then we created a student, which will print the first and last name from the person file and then tack on the ID. And looks like we did another student based on person, but again, it'll print everything from that student file's toString method. Okay, so we did that in the last video. All right, so what I want to do, I want to create a third class file, okay, that will inherit from person because why redo this first and last name? Okay, so I'm going to create a brand new file called toy collector. Okay, so our toy collectors will extend from the person file because toy collectors have, first and last name. So why repeat this? Okay, but toy collectors also have um, a list of toys that they collect. Okay, so we're going to add a has in here. A toy collector has a list of toys. So we're going to create this as an array list because this will be a has a relationship, but a one to many. One toy collector can have many toys. One toy collector only has one first name and one last name, so it's still a has a relationship, but the first and last name is only one to one. This is a one to many because one toy collector will have many toys. Okay, we'll create the toy class in a second, so we'll call this toy list. Okay, so when we create our constructor, of course, we have to have the first and last name, which we will inherit from the person class, and then we're going to generate a unique a toy list for every individual toy collector that we create. Okay, so let's grab the first and last name from the super class, okay, the person class, and then we're going to create this toy list for every toy collector we create. So this is just going to be a new array list of toys. Yeah, okay. Let me close this. Let's, before we do anything else, let's overwrite. Let's generate that toy class, okay, because we need that toy class. So we're going to do another class file of toys, but this does not inherit anything. A toy is not a person. A toy is not a student. So this is a standalone class, okay, but it will be used to populate this toy list in our one-to-many relationship because one toy collector can have many toys in their toy list. So this is our one-to-many has a relationship. Okay. So I don't know what's a toy. We're going to have the name. Okay, the toy name, and we'll do the value. Okay. So of course we need a constructor. Build this. Oops. And then we'll do a print method. Turn. We'll just say toy name valued at. Put that $sign in there. Okay, so that'll be our toy class. All right. So we are going to collect our toys. We're gonna now that we can create toys, we're going to create some toys and we're going to put them into our collector's toy list. So I need some toys and I need a toy collector. So let's go back to our test file. Let's build our toy collector first. Oops. I'll just call him collector 1. And if I remember correctly, I think it was just all first and last name, right? I'll make sure I didn't forget anything. No. Yeah, first and last name. Oh, you know what? I forgot to import, didn't I? I have to import my array list. They're ignoring my error messages. Okay, I know that. Okay, so I got my toy collector. Let's create some toys. Do toy 1. We'll do a yo-yo. And we'll say it's worth $100. Do another toy. Oops. We'll do a teddy bear. We'll say where that's $1,000. Okay. Now we're going to add these toys to our toy collector. Okay. Let me just compile, make sure I don't have anything. Okay, so back here. So I'm going to have to add my toys to this toy list. So I need a method in my toy collector method so that I can take collector 1 and add toy 1 and 2. Okay, so let's come back here and build ourselves a method to add toys. Okay, it'll be void because I don't need to yield anything. Add toys. And what am I adding in here? I'm adding a toy, something from the toy class. Okay, so I am just going to take my toy list and add whatever toy I specified in my parameter. Okay, so it'll add it to the toy list of whatever object, whatever toy collector object I run it off of. Yeah. Okay. So we'll go back to our tester. So now I can say collector 1, of course I've forgotten what it's called, add toys, I tell you. And we'll add toy 1. Okay, let's make sure we don't get any errors. Okay, it's telling me toy 2 is never read. We'll add, actually, let's add a toy that hasn't been created. We'll create it as we add it. So we'll do a new toys and I don't know, I'm trying to think of a new toy. How about a Rubik's Cube? And we'll say that's worth $500. Okay. Now I created 2 separate toy objects, but I only added one to my collector, and then I added another to my collector without creating the object first. I created the object as I added it. Okay. So now I want to be able to print collector. Now, we go back to our toy collector file. I don't have a toString method, okay? So it's going to bop back to the person file. Person class is going to print the first and last name. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so I just have the toy collector's first and last name. So I need to go back into my toy collector file and create a toString method to overwrite the toString method from the person that the toy collector inherited from. Okay, so let's get that done, and then I'll go back and talk. Okay, I think I'm going to embellish, because if I look back at my person file, it just says first and last name, but I want to write the word name. Okay, so I'm going to put some text in here, and then I'll get the toString from my super class or my person class that I inherited from. And then I am going to go down a line, and I'm going to print the toy list. And to print the toy list, I just need toy list, right? The list will just print. I don't need to do a loop to grab all of them. Okay, get rid of that space. Could capitalize L, that would be good. Okay, so now when I come back here and I print my collector one, now it'll use the toString method that I printed here, that I wrote here. Okay. Okay, so now there's the name, and then it prints all the toys that were added to that collector's toy list. Okay, so we got a lot going on here. Okay, so let's go back. We have our person file, which was its individual class file. Okay, and it has a first name and it has a last name. Each person will have a first name and have a last name. One-to-one has a relationship. Okay, a student has a first name and a last name, which it inherited from person, but a student also has a ID. Okay, so there's again a one-to-one relationship. But we also have an is-a going on because a student is a person. Okay, so an is-a relationship deals with inheritance. A has-a relationship deals more with the instance variables. Okay, we're used to the one-to-one. A student has one ID. A person and a student have one first name and one last name. But then we created this other class, toy collector, and we extended it from person. So a toy collector is a person. So it'll inherit the first and last name from the person. It doesn't care about student. It's not connected to student. Okay. But a toy collector has a toy list. It has one toy list, but the toy list has many, many toys in it. Okay, so now we have this one to many has a relationship. Okay, and then in order to show that, I had to create my toys class. And again, toys did not inherit from anybody, it's a standalone class. Each toy has a toy name and a value, so we have that one-to-one has a relationship. Um, but I can create multiple toy objects to populate the toy list in each collector. Okay, so we have a combination here of inheritance and our association with our has-a relationship. Okay, so remember the has-a is just an association. It can be one-to-one or one-to-many. And a is-a is an inheritance. Okay, so a student is a person. A toy collector is a person. That's inheritance. Um, each toy collector has many toys. Okay, so that's an association. Each person, each student, and each toy collector have a first and a last name. That's also a has a association, but that's just a one-to-one. Okay. All right. I hope this was helpful in trying to demonstrate the difference between a has a association, whether it's one to one or one to many, and a is a inheritance. Okay, where something is of another class that will inherit all the instance variables and the methods from that other class. Okay, I will see you next time.